Padres season comes to an end with a 3-1 loss to the Chicago Cubs in Game 3 of the National Wildcard Series. We are here to break it down on a special postgame edition of Friar Territory. I'm Kyle Glaser, alongside both Heath Bell and Mike Cameron. We're bringing the heat for the season-ending show today. Mike, I want to start with you. This Padres offense struggled throughout the series. They scored only one run for the second time in 3 games. Overall, they scored only 5 runs this entire series. What went wrong from your vantage point?
Look, we're facing, I guess, some of the supposedly the best elite pitchers at this point. And I just think that, man, sometimes you just don't get hits, man, and it wasn't from the lack of them putting the ball in play. It's just that sometimes the old adage verbiage that we use is you got to hit them where they ain't, and sometimes it didn't happen. And then part of that is also the fact that the other side, the guys on the mound contribute to guys not getting enough hits, added offense, and everything above. So we saw that a little bit today. And when, if your top guys are not getting much going, then it's pretty much a dead train when we deal with this situation as we saw today.
Yeah, once again, the Padres with this 3-1 loss, it's a situation for the Padres where it's frustrating the way the entire game played out. They fell behind early. They were held scoreless until the 9th inning when they were down 3-0. Jackson Merrill had a solo home run, and the Padres did have a chance in the 9th, to their credit. Had runners on 2nd and 3rd. Freddy Fine up. He'd had a great series. Flew out to center field to end it. But again, you can't just keep relying on rallies in the 9th inning. You can't go scoreless for 8 innings and expect to just win games just because you can rally in the 9th. You have to have a sustained offensive attack. And look, we did not see that the entire series. And some of that was the Cubs defense, to their credit. Dansby Swanson made play after play after play. Nico Hoerner had a great, stab of a Jose Iglesias liner. But at the end of the day, I mean, Heath, you can speak to this from the pitcher's perspective. I mean, the Padres just couldn't do anything.
Yeah, the Cubs played really good defense. I mean, Padres were hitting the ball. They just couldn't, like Mike was saying, they were hitting it right where they were. Defense played really well. And I think it's frustrating for the Padres, but I mean, unfortunately, it's kind of happened all season. We're on the road. They just didn't put it together, and they got most of their hits at home. And I don't know, Mike, you hit, so I don't know.
Yeah.
At first, in mid-season, I was like, stop going out. Stop. You can't go out when you're at home. So, but I know that's not the case. But it's just, man, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, hey, just to kind of sum it up, Heath. I mean, look, this we talk about this all the time. This Padres team doesn't strike out a whole lot, and they're not a true homer threat team. Although they do have a couple guys capable of doing that, but they put the ball in play, and they have a lot of guys that don't get the ball in the air. So, this contributes to you hitting rockets or bombs, balloon balls right at people sometimes. And hey, credit to the Cubs. They were greatly positioned. They made the plays when they had to. And it's no knock against the Padres in a sense, because these guys are what they are. They play to what they don't strike out much. They put the ball in play. They walk some, but a lot of the times it's not at the capacity that you would like for them to get the ball in the air. And part of it is contribute to what they are at home in that ballpark that they play in. So that could play a big part of it. But once again, we also have to give credit to the Cub pitching for being able to halt the team down that doesn't play well offensively as a road team all season long.
Yeah, and for sure, give the Cubs pitching staff credit again. The Padres scored only 5 runs in 3 games this series. Look, Dansby Swanson stole 2 potential RBI hits from Ryan O'Hearn in Game 1. He robbed Luis Ariz of 2 hits here in Game 3. We talked about Nico Hoerner's stab. Pico Armstrong made a great sliding catch in the first inning. The Cubs are a great defensive team. Their pitchers executed. Give them credit. That said, the end of the day, it's about executing when you do get your chances. The Padres had plenty of chances. About to reel off some very, very ugly numbers from this series. The big one, Padres went 3 for 26 with runners in scoring position. Talk about situational baseball. For a Padres team that doesn't hit home runs, you have to execute in these situations. They just didn't get the job done.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, you just at the end of the day, I mean, I know I'm the pitcher, but you just got to tip your hat to the Cubs pitching staff. You know, they kind of bared down when guys were on base and did the job and got out of those jams.
You know, from my perspective, yeah, that's the way you have to look at it, man. You know, 3 for 26 is not going to win you many games. I don't care if you're playing at home, on the road, in Taiwan, Mexico, or wherever it is. You know, with you know your team and what they are. This has kind of been a part of San Diego offense, accustomed all year long. You know, just kind of getting bare fruit from when we having runners in scoring position. And at this particular point in the season, you have to capitalize and take advantage of all the opportunities that you can. But at the same time, man, this is big league baseball, baby. The other side is getting paid the same way. So, you know, you got to find a way to get it done. And it comes down to competition. As you said earlier, Kyle, it comes down to being able to be productive when it's time to be productive.
And again, give the Cubs pitching staff credit. At the same time, there were some situations the Padres helped them out. We talked so much about the top of this lineup, Fernando Tatis Jr., Luis Arias, Manny Machado, how critical it is for them to get going for the Padres to score enough to win. Game 1, that trio went 0 for 11 with a walk. Padres lost 3-1. Game 2, that trio went 4 for 11, 3 runs scored, homer, couple walks, stolen bases. The Padres won. Once again, here in Game 3, that trio went 0 for 11. They went 0 for 11 with one walk yet again. And when you're just not getting that level of production that you need from the top of your order, the job just, again, it's that much more difficult. And look, Xander Bogaerts had a hit in every game this series. Jackson Merrill had a home run today. Some of the guys in the middle, and Freddy Fine, even though he flew out at the end, he had a great series. So the guys in the middle and the bottom were doing their part. The guys at the top didn't do theirs.
Yeah, look, as you say that, you know that the top of this lineup is kind of the hefty part of this thing, and you're looking for these guys to get something going. And, you know, with the win, you see what happens. You're able to activate different aspects of your game, and Tatis being able to steal bags and find the ways to get easy runs. And if you don't get on base, man, like it's hard to win ball games depending on something that you haven't depended upon all season long, and that's the long ball. And so, you know, Tatis, Arias, and Machado, they'll look back at this series, man, and just, you know, they'll take the heavy weight of this pretty much, because they are what San Diego supposed to be. And these are your top hitters. I know for a fact that Tatis and Machado definitely are those guys that can provide much of the offense, and they'll figure it out, man. Like, it's a tough situation, you know, to play in and not be able to be productive. And more times than not, man, it happened on the other side when the Cubs top guys wasn't producing, they didn't win the ball game. So, you know, this is a time that you have to be able to contribute something productive to give your team a chance to win a ball game.
Yeah, we got to remember, you know, the top of the lineup for the Padres, they're the reason they're in the playoffs. They pretty much carried them the majority of the year, and it's kind of a bad time for, you know, them not to get so hits, and we can kind of nitpick Machado and Tatis and the rise. Yeah. But, you know, the thing is, in a short series, it's hard to get hot right away, and, you know, those guys want to do it just as bad as everybody else, and it just happens sometimes that way. And, you know, you want everybody to fire on all cylinders, but, you know, it just, you know, it like everybody knows during the season, one series you tear it up, and the next season you don't.
Yeah.
And it just in the playoffs is more magnitude, and that's all. I mean, these guys are really good, and they're probably going to get us to another playoffs. Let's just hope that they can kind of get the streak going. You know, hopefully next year. Unfortunately, it'll be next year. But, these guys trust me, this offseason, they're going to be working on it and they're going to do everything possible. But it's a short sample. If we were in a 7-game series, we're probably talking totally different.
Yeah.
And I do want to mention Fernando Tatis Jr. in particular. He went 1 for 12 with 4 strikeouts in the series, and we really, really saw his worst habits come out today. Fernando Tatis Jr. went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, but here's how rough it was. Fernando Tatis Jr. saw 14 pitches in the game. He swung at 12 of them, including 7 swings and misses on pitches out of the strike zone. He was swinging at everything. The Cubs knew it. Padres knew it. Everyone watching at home knew it. The Cubs did not have to throw him a strike to get him out. And we just saw that. I mean, Mike, you can speak to this. This is what it looks like when a guy's trying too hard, trying to make something happen. It just was completely ineffective. 7 swings and misses out of the strike zone in 1 game.
Yeah. I'm sure Tatis will look back at this and saying, less is more. And he also has to remember who he is. Like, teams are afraid of this type of talent because of what he's capable of doing. And if he can manage that skill of just remembering who he is, making teams come to him, he's going to be much more dynamic for this offense on every given year. I know for a fact, I understand how he feels. You're trying to make something happen. In the big leagues, when you're trying to make something happen at the plate, the opposition or the pitcher in itself will take advantage of that in any kind of way, because these guys are very great craftsmen, and they understand when guys are doing that. The catchers see it. And I'm sure Tatis knows this more than anything. I'm sure he would love to take a couple of pitches back. I've been there, man. Like, you're trying to make something happen and you're not going to get much, you're going to get a lot of chase. And when you're chasing, it's hard to hit, man. It's hard to hit. But when you get a chance to get the pitcher in the box and make him throw some strikes, don't be afraid to hit with some strikes on you, just to make sure that you try to get one good pitch that you can put the bat on, or 1 or 2 good swings in the at bat, so you have some type of psychological, so you don't have this psychological warfare going on with you when you're going back looking at that iPad in the dugout.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody's trying to be overly aggressive, it's a little bit easier to pitch to them because they're going to be swinging everything. And it's almost, they tell us all the time in the bullpen, he's being really aggressive, so don't give him anything over the plate because he'll get himself out. And I just think that's what Tatis did. But we got to remember, Tatis is still young. He's been in the league for a couple of years now, and every year I think he's just going to get better. And, as soon as he starts doing what Mike has been talking about, gosh, everybody's scared of him now. Just imagine how good he can be as soon as he kind of hones it in a little bit.
Yeah, again, certainly not a day that Fernando Tatis Jr. wanted, or anyone wanted. Again, 14 pitches seen, 12 swings and misses, 12 swings, including 7 swings and misses on pitches out of the strike zone. But it wasn't just Tatis. Manny Machado went 1 for 10 in the series. Luis Ariz went 2 for 11. And again, Ariz was victimized a couple times. Dansby Swanson was able to make some nice plays against him. But on the whole, we've talked about it. When Tatis and Machado combined to go 2 for 22 in a playoff series, Padres they're just not going to score enough to win.
No. Your best players, man. When your best players are 2 for 24, you ain't winning many games, man. Even the other guys can contribute and add something to that. But when your top guys are just not getting hits or not getting on base, it's going to be hard to win. And look, we said it. We see short series all the time. We play a full schedule of short series all the time. It just, this one is more magnified. Your team comes to an abrupt halt when you don't win in these type of games right here. So, that's what it comes down to. And then, look, once again, what showed up is what's been showing up all year long, is that they just don't get it done on the road very often.
Yeah. And final point I'll make on sort of the negative side, and this is the number that really, really hurts. The Padres have scored 5 runs in their last 51 postseason innings, dating back to last year. 24 consecutive scoreless innings against the Dodgers to finish out the 2024 NLDS, and 5 runs in 27 innings in the 2025 National League Wildcard Series. This is an organizational issue. When across 2 seasons, your core's not getting it done at the biggest moments in the postseason, 5 runs in 51 innings during any stretch of a season, you're not going to win many games. There's a reason the Padres are 1-4 in those 5 games we're talking about here. How do you fix this?
Go play wiffle ball. I don't know.
Oh man.
Look, pitching.
Yeah, look, I do think that, I know they have some guys, with some expiring contracts, obviously, or Hearn. I do think that what Laureano showed before he got hurt could be a big contribution to, a lot of the things that are going on. But your main guys are going to still be there. Your Bogarts, your Merrills, your Machados. I think Arise is a free agent.
Yes.
You got Tatis Jr. You still have Sheets on board. You still got Cronenworth, and now you have the Johnson kid, and you also have Fermin. So it just a matter of where they want to go with this to try to bring in some talent to be able to help out, because we know. And look, on the side of you're on the mound too. So there's obviously no team is never the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you got is what you go with, and then there's going to be some changes, and hopefully they could possibly bring Laureano back. There's also an opportunity to bring O'Hearn back if they would like to, and then you have a full season of what you can get out of these guys. But you're going to need a little bit more. But it also starts with those feature pieces, those feature guys that I named that needs to understand what goes on a day in and day out basis.
Yeah, Ramon Laureano, the Padres do hold a team option on him next year. They'll certainly pick that up. But you're right. There's no question they're going to have some holes they have to fill and make some changes, because this is not sustainable. All right, guys, there were some positives. It wasn't all negative. Again, it seems a little bit like, moral victories, but there were some things to take away from this, and there were some individual performances worth highlighting, including one we're going to take a look at here in our DraftKings Player Spotlight. In a lot of ways, the Padres' best player this series was Freddy Fine. And yes, I know he flew out with the tying run on second, runners on second and third, chance to tie the game. But you look at what he did across the series, went 4 for 11, pair of doubles, and also what he did defensively. He blocked a lot of balls in the dirt today. He threw out 2 runners, stealing. Both times his pop time was 1.85, absolute lasers. And oh, by the way, catching Nick Pivetta for the first time in his life in game 1 did a really good job guiding him. So for me, offensively and defensively, had a really, really good series. And we talked a lot about, his acquisition at the trade deadline. The Padres paid a heavy price to get him, and they certainly missed Ryan Bergert down the stretch. At the same time, I feel like you have to tip your cap a little bit to Fermin, what he did for the Padres down the stretch of the season, and what he did here across the 3-game series on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I think the Padres have their catcher. They really haven't had a catcher for the last couple of years, and they've always had to find somebody, and I feel like they have a catcher for the future now. So it'd be kind of exciting to see what Fermin can do for a whole season.
Yeah, I do believe that he's had some impact, from an offensive and a defensive standpoint. And if you have hit this guy, for a few more years now, it gives you an opportunity to make sure that you get him connected with your pitchers, but also be a part of an offense that can still be dynamic, man. Like, no, look, just because they lost this series, that doesn't mean that the Padres don't have an opportunity to make a run again. You know what I'm saying? So Fermin can be added to that. And I'm pretty sure that, although this is a downer as you lose this series, but you still can come back and be right back in the mix next year. It's just going to be a little tougher because you think that obviously the Dodgers are going to still be in the division. And also, I do think that the Arizona Diamondbacks they may look like they're being in a rebuilding type of situation, but they have a nice little group of guys too that can also make a run. So I look for the Padres to be right back in this thing next year.
Heath, I want to get your perspective on this. Freddy Fine had never caught Nick Pivetta in his life prior to game one. Elias Diaz had caught every single one of Nick Pivetta's 31 starts during the regular season. And Fine did a great job gelling with Pivetta. And again, all the different relievers the Padres were bringing in, they cycled through a lot of pitchers this series, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Fine caught all 27 innings, did a great job. Padres pitchers held the Cubs to 7 runs across 3 games. Normally, if you hold a team to 7 runs across 3 games, you're going to win that series. Talked about this offense just did not step up, but I do think Freddy Fine deserves a lot of credit. And I'd love to get your perspective, from a pitching side, and how difficult it is to get a catcher to gel with you when you've literally never worked with him before.
Well, here's the thing, it's not like Freddie just came over yesterday and, Nick, they've probably been talking and they probably been asking about, the last, month or so of the season about like, what do you do for this? What do you do for that? It just hasn't turned into, hey, I need to catch you yet. So I think he was kind of there. And as long as communication is good on both sides, because I'm pretty sure Nick asked Freddie, hey, what do you like doing in this situation? Vice Freddie be like, Nick, what do you want to do in this situation? As long as communication's open and you guys kind of trust each other, it's really easy to gel with somebody. The only problem that comes is like if the catcher starts going, hey, I know how to get this guy out. Just listen to me. And the pitcher wants to do something. That's where it just kind of you butt heads. But honestly, they've been on the same team for over 2 months now, and I don't think they would be really an issue. I really did.
Yeah, and again, Freddy Fine, good series despite, being the final out, 4 for 11, couple doubles, did a great job guiding this pitching staff, threw a pair of runners out today with 185 pop times, blocked a lot of balls in the dirt. He was one of the standouts of this series for the Padres, and this will do it for this week's edition of the DraftKings Player Spotlight. Football is back, and so is your shot at big wins. With DraftKings Pick 6, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL, your game day instincts can score you real money. Here's the play. Just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and unlock the upside every snap brings. The better your calls, the bigger your payout. And here's the kickoff bonus. New DraftKings customers get $50 in bonus picks with just a $5 entry on your first pick set. This season, play your player instincts. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Play just $5. Get $50 in Pick 6 bonus picks. Make the call, ride the upside in partnership with DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Mike and Heath, we talked a lot about this offense and its shortcomings. At the same time, the Padres trailed the entire way. Darvish came out and once again struggled, got through the first inning okay, but ran into trouble in the second inning. Overall, Darvish allowed 5 of the 7 batters he faced to reach. And this was not a new problem. Darvish went 5-5 with a 5.38 ERA in 15 starts this year. He was not effective in the regular season. And in a big game 3 where the Padres needed at least some length, 1 plus innings, I should say, allowing 5 of 7 batters to reach. Just what do you make of Darvish and his struggles and just where he goes from here?
I just think it's hard for a pitcher not pitching the majority of the season and then kind of being in this situation. I mean, I know Darvish is up there in age and it happens to everybody, but I just feel like I don't know. The Padres, I would have pitched Darvish in this game. So it just, it's just a hard part of the situation. I mean, Dylan Cease did a great job yesterday, but he's had his ups and downs and he's pitched all year. So it's just, he was facing a really good Cub lineup that was hitting the ball and doing really well. So it's tough. It's almost like, it's a playoffs. It's just magnitudes everything. And if you have one bad inning, especially if it's a win or go home, there's other series that 2 guys get on, they just pull them right away. And it's like during the season, you can get out of that jam and then pitch a couple more innings, but it just didn't happen tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the bullpen, to its credit, came in and for the most part did a good job. Jeremiah Estrada coming in, walking in the room with the bases loaded was not great, but he did bounce back. Again, comes in, no outs, strikes out Matt Shaw through 3 fastballs, gets Michael Busch to ground to an inning double play. And look, the rest of the Padres pitching staff held the Cubs to 1 run over the final 8 innings.
Yeah.
Again, the pitching staff did its job. They held the Cubs to 7 runs across 3 games, even with Yu Darvish not pitching effectively in Game 3. The Padres had chances. It was a close game, and they just didn't get the job done. I would like to get your guys' overall perspective on this Padres pitching staff's performance. We saw starters come out of the bullpen. Michael King today. We saw some good starts. We saw some dominant bullpen performances. What do you take away from what the Padres pitchers showed in this series and what their performance was?
I think they did a really good job. I think they did the best they could. It's hard pitching when you're not getting any offense, but this pitching staff, they did everything they could this season. And during the playoffs, like you said, they held them to 7 runs.
Yeah.
And a good offensive team, that's tough to do. And they did the best they could. It just, it's frustrating when they're not getting a bunch of runs per sport. And I could imagine, it's probably frustrating for Mike when you're on a team and the team can't get anybody out and you're scoring runs. You keep giving up runs. So it just goes hand in hand. And unfortunately, the Padres just couldn't put it together on the road. They could always put it together at home, just not on the road. And I think that's the only thing. You just kind of take a step back and say it's one of those years and try to figure that out. Maybe, I don't know, mix the lineup up, or I don't know. Everybody has a curfew. Throw something out there. I don't know.
Oh my God, Heath! I tell you the truth. Look, man, I just think that in Yu's case, there was no comfort all season long with him. I think he's been fighting himself a little bit. And look, the guys at this point, he would be considered crafty, but he still has the stuff to get outs in the big leagues and innings in that sense. As far as the other guys, they did a tremendous job of just trying to hold it together. You run into those spells or spats over the course of the season where the offense can carry you for a little while, and sometimes the pitching carries it. And more than likely, the pitching carries you a lot more than the offense does over the course of a season. It's just that it doesn't compel to come together at this particular time, because you need to have everything firing on all cylinders to be able to win a series and to continue in this type of tournament. And any little situation, we know that it is so magnified at this point right now that in a short series, you'll get a little more leeway in the next series when you have a 5-game series. And then, or is it 5 or 7? Kyle, which one is it? It's 5.
Next series is best of 5.
You have a best of 5, and then you have a best of 7. So you get a little more leeway in not having the urgency that you gotta win like right away. And so this team was built for all the different aspects of the series that we just spoke upon. It's just they couldn't put it together on the road, and that showed up probably the most right now than any other time.
Yeah. Again, the pitching decisions didn't make an enormous difference simply because the Padres couldn't score. Yeah. They got 1 run in the 9th inning. That was it. They staged a little bit of a late rally. But there was a decision that I thought was questionable at the time, and it did play a little bit of a role in the sense that instead of being down only 1 run after Jackson Merrill's home run, the Padres were chasing 2. So Yu Darvish struggled. Jeremiah Estrada got out of the 2nd, pitched a clean 3rd. Michael King came in the 4th. And Michael King, who, again, had missed a lot of time with injuries, since coming off the IL, his stuff had not looked quite as crisp. His stuff today looked like the old Michael King. It looked like #1 starter Michael King. That sinker, that slider, he absolutely mowed through the Cubs lineup in his inning of work. It would have made a lot of sense, given Audrey Morjon's usage, Mason Miller's usage, Robert Suarez's usage, for him to go out and pitch at least 2 innings, preferably 3, maybe even 4.
Yeah.
And instead, Mike Schilt went with Wandy Peralta, and that moved everything up and forced the Padres to have to use some of their high leverage arms early, like Robert Suarez. Mm-hmm. And I think the issue I have with this decision is this. You use Michael King for 1 inning, but Michael King, a fresh starter for 1 inning, but you expect to get 2 innings out of Robert Suarez, a closer pitching on the 2nd of back-to-back days. It was just, I thought it was a big strategic error. And realistically, there's no reason Michael King could not have gone out and pitched another inning. What happened was Mike Schilt, I think, got he overthought it because the Cubs had A couple lefties coming up, Pete Crow Armstrong. You had Ian Happ, who's much better hitting from the left side. They want him to bat right-handed. And, of course, Kyle Tucker, so they brought in the lefty. But when you think about the course of the game, what you're going to have to do to get through 9, pulling Michael King was a mistake. That forced him to bring Suarez in early. And, look, Suarez was not sharp yesterday when he closed it out. Now you're asking him to pitch this, 2 innings, second of back-to-back days. It was kind of predictable that he was going to let up a run. And, frankly, the Padres are lucky it was only 1.
Well, it's hard managing the bullpen, here and there. You're going lefty righty matchup, and I think a lot of people nowadays is lefty righty matchup. You're thinking about this lineup where King's a starter. You can get lefties out and righties out, and I would have liked him to go at least 2 innings, if not 3. And it just, Darvish was my guy to pitch tonight. It just seemed like it just didn't happen. But the whole series, I thought he was going to start over King. People are probably going to second guess and go, King was sharp. He could have been the guy. But really, King hasn't been really that good, like you said. And he was really sharp today. And that's my only question of all the situation. You got to bring in Robert. You got to bring in your best guys. If Miller hadn't thrown so many pitches, they probably would have brought him in, early too. But King should have definitely got 2 innings in, I think, just to bridge that gap because, you're trying – what if you can tie the game and go extras? You're not going to use all your guys. So that's, it's hard. Like I said, it's hard to manage the bullpen, especially a game like this. You lose and you go home. So you don't want to do anybody, but then again, you're trying to put your best horses out there. So, that's the only knock. I think that's the only thing Mike maybe made a mistake in pitching him multiple innings, but it is what it is.
And again, when the offense doesn't give you a whole lot of run support, that's not why the Padres lost. But I did think it was a strategic decision that didn't make sense at the time. And ultimately, Mike, you can speak to this as an offense. Your mindset is a little different going into the 9th, chasing 1 instead of chasing 2. Or I should say chasing 2 instead of chasing 3, and then eventually instead of 2.
No doubt. So, I look, I'm not trying to manage Schulte's decision, but given what has transpired over these couple of games and your high leverage guys, we talked about this before the series started, that you're probably going to, if one of your starters get in trouble, then you're going to need some length to get to the back end of that. And today was an example that you probably could have done that because, when you bring a starter in the playoffs in and he has a good inning and has a good rhythm, then you go talk to him and ask him, like, hey, how you feeling, man? Can you, give me one more, whatever it may be, to be able to bridge that. And once a starter gets into a rhythm, whether he comes in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, or whatever it may be, if he gets in a rhythm, then he's capable of giving you more length. And I think that I understand from that perspective also. But I also understand, too, from the perspective of Schulte maybe looking at it as like, man, it's all hands on deck. So I gotta go what I got. But considering what we went through for the last couple of days and just the sharpness and everything else of your high leverage guys, your sniper ain't sniping like he normally does. So, maybe I can get something out of the battle, the guys, the troops on the ground, get me a little more push to give my sniper a little closer range to be able to do what he's able to do. So, yeah, but once again, it comes down in this situation, the pitching did as much as they could possibly do. Yeah. And it just fell really short offensively in this category. And if you're big boys, I ain't really giving you much in the offense, then everybody's going to be looking around in the dugout like, we need something. We got to get something going. And that's pretty much how this series played out in itself.
But just remember, the offense did hit the ball, and the Cubs defense made some great.
That's true. That is true. That is true.
Make those great plays, there's a good chance Padres might be moving on. So, yeah, I know it sucks to say it, but they made some good plays there. It just is. You got to tip your hat.
Look, it happens, man.
I want to be clear. Cubs deserve to win the series. They pitch better, they hit better, they play great defense. Like, this isn't a situation where the Padres choked away the series. Like, the Cubs won. The Cubs straight up beat the Padres. And you got to tip your cap to them. And we talk about, again, managerial decisions. they go to both ways, right? I also thought Craig Counsell was way too premature pulling Jameson Taillon. I know the three straight lefties were coming up, but Taillon has that nasty changeup. They weren't touching him. It was only second time through the order. And it almost came back to bite them because, again, he was trying to get 2 innings from Brad Keller, who had been heavily used, and that almost was an implosion. So, again, there's always going to be moves you can question from the manager's perspective. At the end of the day, it comes down to players executing. And just straight up, the Cubs executed and performed better than the Padres did over the course of the series, and that's why they're moving on.
Yeah, look, man, you're right. We said this going into it. Schulte and Craig Counsell are good managers, man. They understand the game. Obviously, analytics comes to a very big part of this, and these guys have been around the game a long time, so they understand what they're seeing. And so, man, a hit or two here or there, hit them where they ain't. Anything could change. That last inning, when we were going back texting or whatever, it was dramatic. It could have went either way. A call here or there changes.
How about that called third strike on Xander Bogaerts? That was something.
Tough. That's tough, man. Like that, like you expect the umpires to get the ones that are wrong, maybe on the plate or off the plate. But when you're up and down like that, that's a tough one. That's a tough break for the Padres in that situation. It just gives them that much more added opportunity to put pressure on the Cubs, and Cubs got a break. And as long as I've been playing baseball, we didn't have none of the stuff that's going on. It was all on the umpire. So, it's just furious, steaming madness or happiness in any part, because that is a big part of the game, as well as you like it or not, man. So, hey, kudos to the Cubs. They came through once again, and Padres got to go back and regroup.
All right, guys, before we wrap up, I want to ask you a big picture question. And we talked about this a little bit, but now that the season is officially over, I want to get your thoughts on this. The Padres won 90 games for the second straight year. They were in playoff position pretty much the entire season. They were in the division title race the final week of the year, but they exited in the wild card series with, frankly, just another lifeless offensive performance. Do you consider this Padres season to have been a success?
I think it's a success because you had some injuries and you made some trades, and they didn't really have anything at the bottom of the lineup, made some good trades, and I think they found some guys for the future. It wasn't like, just I'm going to rent them for 2 or 3 months. These guys, you got some guys that are going to be here for a lengthy time. So you're kind of got rid of your farm system, but you didn't really you found some guys for the next couple of years. So, and I think this team has a chance to get to the playoffs next year and possibly win the division like they did this year. So they're going to be in the hunt. And I think really in management, you try to put a good product on the field to get to the playoffs. And if you get to the playoffs, hey, you got a chance. Yeah. And really that's what it boils down to. And the more chances you get, the better opportunities you're going to have. So I think it's a success this year. I mean, it's going to feel bad right now, but really in about a week or two, you're going to look back and go, okay, maybe we just, get some key hits next year and we're in it.
Kyle, Heath, I'm a firm believer in, bro, you won 90 games in the big leagues. That is for the second time in the history, back to back. That is success in itself. Just because you have these star players or, you have these guys that are pillars on your team, it doesn't guarantee success. And then if we look at this Padres team as what it is like there were plenty questions all around, on the roster, up and down, where we're going to get innings from some starters when we have these guys that are hurting. You get Big 44 back next year, which I don't know why his number is still out there. It should be in a rafter somewhere. But you get him back next year. So there are a lot of, as we have these questions, there's a lot of good that happened with the Padres this year. And the number one thing is obviously winning 90 games and giving yourself a chance to play well in the tournament. And we just didn't play well. So we can live with that. We know that we still have a decent enough roster to put ourselves in a position to get in the playoffs. It's just that what dynamic, what pieces that we can add from pitching staff and free agents or trades or whatever it may be, and also from the offensive side, maybe get like some legitimacy in left field, as it's been like a question mark for a couple of years. Obviously, Ramon Laureano is a big piece of that, but you still can get some. You can solidify a few things, and then there are other question marks that come about with like a Rise. Is he going to be back? Or and your bench. Get some quality pieces on your bench so you don't have to worry about injuries, knowing that your farm is kind of bare right now. It's bearing very slow right now. So at the end of the day, man, like you gotta celebrate small victories, and we're right there once again. And I know that people are going to question those things, but you got to understand that it's not easy to win back-to-back season when you get into the 90 victory category where you are at this particular moment.
Yeah, no, again, I think going back and looking at the big picture, like I said, 90 wins, you're in postseason position the entire year for the most part. You're right there in the division title race. Go on the road and lose to a good team. Let's be clear, the Cubs are a good team. This team won 90-plus games, one of the best offenses in baseball. So I do think that it's a success in a lot of ways, big picture. At the same time, I can see how when you look at the Padres' last 3 playoff appearances, they've gone backwards. 2022, they reached the NLCS. 2024, eliminated in the NLDS. Now 2025, eliminated in the wild card series. I can see how the trend is not one that you love necessarily.
But Kyle, look at it like this. I think that first year they kind of snuck up on people.
They did.
All of a sudden now, like, oh, whoa, the Dodgers like, whoa, little brother growing up. You know what I'm saying? So, like they're different. I feel like every year is different. And if we're gonna go off of that, then you have to say that, yeah, man, you got to watch out, man. These Padres, they're coming. And then down the road, a couple of state over, look, the D-backs ain't going away nowhere anyway. Either I feel like they got a good team. No matter how when you look at this, somehow or another they put it together where they're right in the mix, and they could be a thorn in somebody's side. The Dodgers definitely not going anywhere, but I do feel like the Padres feel like, you know what, like we're not that far behind competing against these Dodgers in our division every single year. And I know for a fact the Dodgers know that also. When you listen to the comments that they make, I saw what's the shortstop name?
Mookie?
No, well, not Mookie. Miguel
Rojas. Yeah.
Miguel Rojas. Like, we know we got a target on our back. We got a target on us and everything else. And he knows that this team is not that far behind. So, and look, I only look for, as Manny starts to Father Time, and I'm so sorry, Father Time does it all the time, but I also look for the experience that Tatis is getting to start to elevate even a little more with the maturity of understanding of who he is, man. Like, man, like this guy is that where he can carry a team all season if given the discipline and the concentration that it takes to match up to the talent that he has, that he displays on the baseball field.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to – I mean, it's easy to say, okay, the Padres went farther and now they're getting knocked out in the wild card. But this year they're 1 or 2 hits away from taking the division, 1 or 2 hits away going all the way. So it's – it just wasn't our year, unfortunately. But everybody, like a couple years ago, like you said, we snuck up on everybody.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now everybody's talking to the Padres are here to stay. Next year, they're going to be like the Padres are going to be right there again. Even the Diamondbacks are going to be, because I feel like they're going to be there. They're going to be like, well, it's going to be the Padres and Dodgers. I think the Diamondbacks were thinking, well, the Padres, whatever, but we got to beat the Dodgers. Now they're thinking about the Padres too. So when you have a target on your back, it's a little bit harder. But when you're sneaking up on people don't give you as much credit. But this team and this organization has done really well. And like I said, they're 1 or 2 hits away from winning the division and 1 or 2 hits away from winning this series. So it just didn't go our way, unfortunately. And, it's easy to be negative at this time. And hey, there's some positive things, and you just got to turn it around and, tip your hat and wait until the World Series is over and then work on it and start winning, getting ready for next year.
Absolutely. So the Padres season is over, but we are not done here at Friar Territory. We will have full offseason coverage, looking at all the decisions the Padres have to make in free agency, what trades they make, what decisions they make with the front office. We will have you covered here with Heath and Mike. Gentlemen, I have to say, this has been one of the most fun experiences of my life, talking through this season with you. It has truly been an honor after growing up watching both of you in Petco Park, being able to call you my partner. Oh, yeah, no. I mean, I'll tell you, I was in high school. Mike, I was in high school.
Oh, my God.
You were 07. I was just starting college. So I was still in my teens when y'all came to San Diego. Sorry to tell you.
Oh,
but
my God.
regardless, it has been an
Gray
honor.
hair.
I got a few gray hairs myself too.
Well, I'm still really old. I'm starting to lose a little bit of this. I'm like, oh man, what the heck, man? The 30s are brutal. So
Man.
it is what it is. But once again, this has been a tremendous first season of Friar Territory. Thank you to everyone who has watched and listened. This has really been a blast. And like I said, we are not done. We have full off-season coverage. And of course, we'll be back in spring training to cover the actual games. But we've got you covered here every single day. We will be back next week. We're going to take a few days, relax a little bit, and then we'll start talking Padres roster moves for the offseason.
Thanks, guys.
And Mike Cameron. I'm Kyle Glaser. Thank you for watching and listening this episode and this entire season. We'll see you in a bit.